I've just been sued for $71 million, and I'm not even old enough to legally drink a beer. My friends and family believed my lies. I'm a gamer. I got lucky with Bitcoin. I learned to play the stock market. But in reality, I stole nearly $100 million from a list of cryptocurrency heavy hitters and threw it all away. Buying lavish watches, popping bottles of champagne, and living the unforgiving high roller life. That's the wild story of the baby Al Capone, the privileged suburban New York teenager who swindled millions from innocent and unsuspecting civilians. Let's put ourselves in his shoes and see how this young criminal mastermind infiltrated the system. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Ellis Pinsky, and I'm just your average Westchester kid. Or at least, that's what I made everyone around me think. Westchester's a pretty decent spot. I live out of my parents' pretty snazzy $1.3 million house. I go to Irvington High School. I get decent grades most of the time. I run track, play soccer, and spend endless hours gaming in my bedroom. If you had 3 high-def monitors, you would too. But I guess you could say that, on the surface, I live a pretty normal teenager life. But once I'm finished telling you this story, oh boy, you'll realize how wrong that statement really is. While I wasn't the quickest on the track or the best on the soccer field, back when I was 15, I was, and let's be honest, still am, a pretty darn effective computer hacker. Sure, I was just in the 10th grade, but who says you need a fancy diploma to steal hundreds of millions of dollars? If you're smart enough, like I was, then you're smart enough, and that money will be yours whether you've passed the GED or not. If anything, the punishment is far less severe for minors. What was the worst that could have happened from hacking into a few phones? A slap on the wrist? Maybe a few hours of community service? Hey, orange looks good on me, so I really don't care. Well, in hindsight, I should have, because right now, I've got a multi-million-dollar lawsuit sitting on my friggin' desk. Mondays, right? Alright, let's wind the clock back a little. You're probably thinking, how did this kid end up screwing over some of the biggest names in the cryptocurrency world? Honestly, it was pretty darn easy. It all started with the video games. That's where my attention was most of the time. I find myself involved in private video game chat rooms from time to time, usually on Discord or Skype, and in those rooms I'd see bragging gamer after gamer talk about their hacking exploits. So I thought to myself, if these dudes can do it, then I can too. In fact, I can probably do it better. It all started with the usernames. If I saw that some other gamer has a cool username, then I'd just casually hack into their accounts and make it my own. Thank you, I'll take that. As I became more of an experienced and knowledgeable hacker, I set my sights a little higher. Why take usernames, which have no value other than perhaps some brownie points, when I could get filthy rich by taking my exploits to the next level? So that's what I did. My mission changed. Now it was all about accessing the back end of these people's private accounts. That's where they stored their personal information, and most importantly, that's where they stored their cash. Well, not cash, cryptocurrency. Bitcoin, usually, to be honest. Bitcoin was far easier to steal than cash anyway, but just remind me to circle back to that point in a minute. Going from stealing usernames to pulling off multi-million-dollar heists actually isn't that much of a leap, because once you're in the account, it's as easy as taking candy from a baby. Anyway, where was I? The hacking. While I definitely experimented with a few different methods, there was one core technique that proved successful. Without this technique, they would have never ended up in my pocket. It's called SIM swapping. Ever heard of it? Probably not, because unless it's happened to you, or unless you're a highly skilled hacker like yours truly, it's not exactly common knowledge. That said, it's a pretty popular trick in the cybercrime world. So once I mastered it, oh boy, I was off to the races and that money was coming in droves. I'll give you the lowdown. Here's how SIM swapping works. Whether you call it SIM swapping, SIM jacking, SIM hijacking, or port out scamming, the premise is all the same. Taking your phone number and putting it in my phone. Let's say that you are my SIM swapping target. Step 1 is to gather as much personal information about you as possible. All the classics: your mother's maiden name, date of birth, physical address, email, the name of your first pet, your high school. Honestly, you probably wouldn't make this too difficult for me. I'm assuming you've got photos of your dog on Instagram, and it wouldn't take too long to search your Facebook friends list to find your mom. If a little more digging is needed, no problem. That's where phishing emails and malware come in handy. Once I got all your basic information and the answers to any potential security security questions, the next step is to fool the phone companies. For argument's sake, let's say Verizon is your provider. So from the comfort of my own couch, I'll call up Verizon, pretend to be you, and say that, "Oh no, I've lost my phone and my SIM card. Help me, Mr. Verizon customer service man." They'll ask the typical identity verification questions, which of course I have all the answers to, and then they'll send me a new SIM card in the mail. Voila, now your text messages and calls come to me. Alright, so you know how your bank sometimes sends a 4 or 5-digit code as a text message to your phone? That's called two-factor authorization. And now that I have your phone, that code is given to me on a silver platter. This technique also gives me the opportunity to remotely transfer your digital identity from your old SIM card to my new phone. This is how I stole cryptocurrency, from your copied phone. Credit where credit is due, though. I wasn't alone in my exploits. One of my collaborators was a dude by the name of Nick Truglia. Nick is a few years older than me and was a finance and economics major at Baruch College. But what really made Nick an asset was his ability to spot the vulnerable targets. He'd basically be responsible for gaining the phone numbers, and then I'd be the one executing the hack itself. Unfortunately, Nick got caught working on a different hack and is out on bail at the moment. Should have protected yourself better, eh, buddy boy? See, I'm being sued, but I haven't technically been arrested. That's a win in my books, though I might just be lying to myself because I can't take it that I actually got caught. People always ask me, "Ellis, why Bitcoin? If you can just take these people's money by accessing their everyday bank accounts, why not do that?" Well, here's the thing, guys. I could go ahead and do that, but to be honest, it feels a little more evil. If you ask me, stealing crypto is the way to go. It's impersonal. I don't see the face of the person I'm stealing from, just the username and the number. For kids like me who've spent their whole lives staring at screens and playing games, dealing with people who hide behind code names and numbers, it feels natural, though it's not. It's also harder to trace. Lost and stolen Bitcoin happens all the time, like more than you think. One dude named James Howells actually lost $127 million worth of Bitcoin a few years back, and hackers stole over $4 billion from crypto crimes in 2019 alone. So I was just another fish in a big pond. What's the big deal? While I was creating digital chaos and not afraid to spend my winnings, my friends and family had no idea. Were they clueless, ignorant, dumb? Maybe. Or maybe they knew and just didn't want to implicate themselves. Either way, if you ask my parents, they'll say I was making Bitcoin online through video games and simply got lucky. If you ask my best friend, he'll tell you that I was making my money through trading Bitcoin in stocks. Clearly, they didn't have a clue. And you could bet your bottom dollar I put that money to work. Have you ever wanted to fly in a private jet? Or party it up at the country's most prestigious clubs? Buy yourself a fancy car by converting the cryptocurrency to cash? I was doing all that, and oh, so much more. I held the keys to an Audi R8, which sure enough impressed the rest of the school, and I didn't mind splashing some cash on Louis Vuitton clothes or the latest sneakers. I'm a bit of a shoe nerd. What can I say? Even though I was happy to fill my designer wallet with $100 bills, I still really didn't like to pay for things. Alright, remember that thing I said about being just another fish in a big pond? Truth is, I wasn't an ordinary fish. I was a great white friggin' shark. In January 2018, when I heard about the size of Michael Turpin's cryptocurrency account, I smelled blood. With my gang of American and European digital bandits under my wing, we gained access to Turpin's BlackBerry. Once we were in, we had access to his digital vault, otherwise known as a native wallet. That's where we hit the jackpot. $23.8 million was stashed there. Within 48 hours, we had stolen his virtual cash and laundered it. His phone went dead. Our replica phone was alive, and just like that, I was filthy rich. Well, more filthy rich. Just another day at the office, right? Look, I'll be frank with you. This was supposed to be my last cyber heist. I was planning to live off this cash until the cows came home. But as it turns out, it was just too good to be true, because Michael, one of the founding minds behind blockchain technology and cryptocurrency, wasn't planning on going down without a fight. Once Michael launched an investigation into his stolen crypto, that's when things turned south. His lawyer managed to gain access to audio recordings between a few of the digital bandits. Apparently, my name came up in a few of those conversations. Stupid newbies couldn't keep their mouth shut. Eventually, Michael's lawyer reached out to my mother at her office, and from that point onward, we got our lawyers involved. He's now suing me over the theft of $23.8 million in digital currencies and asking for 3 times that in damages. The sly move here is that he waited 3 years, until I turned 18 and could legally be tried as an adult, to file the lawsuit. Not cool, man. Not cool at all. You know what, though? Compared to some of the biggest crypto heists of all time, I barely even stole a penny. Russian hackers stole the equivalent of around 530 million American dollars from Coincheck in Japan. Less than a month later, a little-known Italian exchange called BitGrail was infiltrated to the tune of about 170 million US dollars. I could go on, but here's my point. Is what I did really that bad? I haven't even been arrested yet. After all this, people have been calling me Baby Al Capone and a standout kid with a dark side. And you know what? I think they're pretty much right. And there you have it. That's the story of how one kid stole tens of millions of dollars worth of Bitcoin at the age of 15. Do you think he deserves to be punished? Would you have him arrested?